there's questions that go around, okay, what is she wearing? Is she wearing this today? Why is she wearing this? And you hear things on set, you know. There was actually the film, her character is very attached to this particular shell that it's been so long now. So there's a sequence where the shell drops onto her navel in slow motion. Yeah. So I just assumed, and I asked him, I'm like, why do you take shots, you know, of my navel? I'm like, it's such a, for me it was weird, I didn't get it. There's lots of things that's happened. I mean, I've worked with some people who are super moody. So it's like, you know, one day we're talking and we're great and great vibe on set. The next day there's like zilch, no conversation. I read a comment recently where someone's like, I don't like her arms. And I'm like, I don't like them too, but you know, they're not that bad.
You remember her as Shruti from Barfi, who not only got into your hearts with her performance, but to me, she's one crazy, crazy person. Today, sharing our own untold story is Ileana D'Cruz with us, joining only on Pinkvilla. What's up?
How cute are you?
You started with South and you started really early in your career.
True.
Was acting always the calling, and why did you, make that transition from South to Bollywood?
I didn't know acting was always the calling. I started really young. So, I mean, I think when you're that young, you don't really know. I mean, there are lots of girls right now, actually, now that I think about it, that have started young and they've always known they wanted to be actors. Acting is something that happened to me. The offers came in, and I think a couple of years after I started acting, it just became something that I really enjoyed doing, and it's something that I couldn't see myself not doing anymore. I think the transition came in because there were so many offers that came in anyway, but they weren't as exciting. And then with Barfi, I mean, it was just a story that was, I mean, it stuck with me, and I procrastinated a lot. I thought about it a lot, but it just refused to go away. And I'm like, nope, I think I really need to do this. So
you didn't want to do Barfi in the beginning?
I wanted to do it because I loved it. It stuck with me. But the only thing that was making me say no was that, it's Ranbir, it's Priyanka, she gets the guy in the end. I don't even get him in the end. Am I going to look like the other woman? Am I going to look like a side character? What am I going to look like? I didn't know, So there was that thing, and it's always a gamble. So you never know how a film really is going to shape up sometimes. So we didn't really have a script. Like a bound script.
It's Basu.
Exactly, it's Basu. But it's Pagalpati to another level with him. But there's weird magic in his madness, I think.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But Ileana, I want to ask you this: that did you give auditions in the beginning? Like Taapsee said that when she used to go for auditions, she used to be like really bad in them. Have you ever had a really terrible audition? Something mean said to you?
I remember when I went down south the first time. I was being considered for a film that was being directed by Teja, the director, and he wanted an audition. So I remember the casting director was really sweet, and he just had the actual person who was going to be my co-star, Nitin, and he just wanted us to have a conversation. So he wanted me to talk in English, and it was fun. It felt like a conversation more than anything. But he said something really sweet. He's like, if you ever goof up, just smile. I think your smile will get away. You could get away with anything with your smile. That was the sweetest thing. I don't know if it was a bad audition, that's why he said smile. But I think it was a really sweet thing he said. But I've been lucky that I haven't had to give audition.
Heroines down south, they're treated really well, like by the team. But I remember this because we've had this conversation where, there's this one particular film and that director who throws things at what was in your potluck. Like Taapsee got a coconut.
I had, that was my first film actually.
Oh.
So there was a scene, actually the film, her character is very attached to this particular shell that it's been so long now. But I know she's attached to this particular shell. So there's a sequence where the shell drops onto her navel in slow motion. And I honestly didn't. I was so young. In fact, even with the romantic sequences, I still remember he made me watch films of Madhuri and Shah Rukh because they had great romance and they were known for great romantic films. So because I didn't know how to really react, so I never understood what it meant. So I just assumed, and I asked him, I'm like, why do you take shots, of my navel? I'm like, for me it was weird. I didn't get it. So he's like, no, it's beautiful and it's like a very womanly thing. So, it's very feminine. So I'm like, okay, I guess so. I mean, I didn't understand anything when it came to filming. So I just put that down as another thing that I just didn't get. So it was basically that. It hurt a little bit. There was ceramics. It was really heavy.
Of course. But anything apart from that, actresses, not just actresses actually, even men go through a lot of propositioning,
Right.
whether it's down south or here.
I've heard of it.
Have you also?
No, actually. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are very surprised when I tell them that. But I mean, I always had my mom with me.
Yeah.
She was my manager pretty much. So I don't know. It probably was that. Maybe I was super naive, so I didn't understand if I was being propositioned. I don't know. Or even if, like, say, if co-star was flirting with me, I probably didn't get it. I was just so thick, I didn't understand. I think. Yeah. So.
But when you did a film, has there ever been an incident where you felt that, you know, maybe there was a hint of sexism, or maybe the male actor was treated?
Of course, yeah, you do feel that. But I feel at the end of the day, I mean, you can constantly be like, okay, you know, why is he getting preferential treatment? At the end of the day, I'm like, you know, these are my terms and conditions. Just, you know, stick to them. If you agree to it, fine. If you don't agree to it, then let's not sign the contract. So I stick to that. And at the end of the day, I mean, they can pander and pamper my co-star as much as they want. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. Sometimes it's like a different car, for example. Like, oh, you need a fancy, swanky car. And I'm like, okay, fine. He's getting a swanky car. I've got the car that I've asked for. I'm comfortable, so whatever. So, I mean, you know, if I'm going to get into that space of like, why are they treating him like that? It would just mess with my head. And I don't need to deal with that kind of bullshit.
You had already established yourself as a very powerful heroine. After that, when you did films, has there ever been a situation where you could sense that a co-star, male or female, was insecure of you?
Yeah, I have. In fact, I think a lot of people have been intimidated by me. I don't understand it. But I do know I'm a very strong person, and that probably comes across, and I'm a very secure actor as well. So it really doesn't matter to me who's acting with me. I mean, I've worked with very talented actors, actresses, and very established people. I mean, Priyanka, for example. But there was never a sense of insecurity. There was never a sense of like, you know, is she going to get the bigger role? And that's the reason I signed the film. I mean, the scene at the end where, you know, she turns around, where she's calling out to Barfi, that was a scene that sort of stuck with me. And I'm like, you know what, I know that scene's not going to change. So I'm doing the film just for that scene. And the rest of the film, I had no idea what we were going to shoot. So there wasn't really an insecurity, and I feel... No,
but from the others?
From the other end, I'm guessing there would be. I don't know. I've heard that there are... I've seen a few things sometimes.
Like what?
Like, you know, there's questions that go around, okay, what is she wearing? Is she wearing this today? Why is she wearing this? And you hear things on set, you know. I haven't heard it firsthand. I've heard it through other people. And I think it's a little... I think it's flattering, maybe, you know. I think it's flattering that maybe it's coming from a space where they do see me as a good actor. You know.
When you debuted in Bollywood, you were already a few films old in South, and you were a big name down South. After that, you've done a few films in Bollywood also. Has it ever happened where a male actor didn't really treat you well, like on the set?
I mean, I have worked with all sorts of actors. I have worked with some actors who are immature. I have worked with some actors who are not professional. And I think, you know, it takes all sorts to sort of make the film industry, maybe. So you do have to have a few nuts around. But I think I pride myself in just handling myself in a very dignified... There's lots of things that's happened. I mean, I've worked with some people who are super moody. So it's like, you know, one day we're talking and we're great and great vibe on set. The next day there's like zilch, no conversation, completely cold. And I'm like, did I say something? I mean, what's going on, you know? So now I just leave it at, you know, I either leave my co-stars alone if they give me that vibe, or I will go up to them and be like, listen, you know, are you taking a moment? Are you in the zone? Are you working on your lines? Or is this cool? So, I mean, I think I've reached a level in my life, in my work, in my career where I just can't take BS anymore. I can't take bullshit anymore. And I would rather just, you know, get it out there and be like, okay, you know, if we're not vibing, let's just accept the fact that we don't get along and just let's work together professionally, you know, let's be civil. But I would rather not do the fake crap. You know,
fake egg.
I can't do it.
You know, suppose when you are making a film, you envision it in a certain way after the narration. Your character, the way the plot moves ahead.
Correct.
Has it ever happened when you watch the film and you were completely disappointed with it, the way it has been put up?
Not completely, but yeah, there has been a couple of films that I was very, very disappointed. One, I was extremely disappointed. and it didn't do well. One, I was disappointed, but it did extremely well. So I was like, well, okay, I guess. But
And why were you disappointed?
because I pictured it completely different, and when I saw it, it really jarred me out of my entire zone, because I was picturing it as a softer kind of film, but it came across as very loud and kind of jarring to the senses. So, you know, everything was loud to me. Like the color was loud, the sound was loud, everything was loud. I'm like, what's going on? So it really shook me up, but people loved it.
And second one?
That was the second one. The first one, the narration was outstanding. So I pictured it as such a funny film. And there were funny moments in it, but somehow it just didn't hold people, I think. So.
But your role has never been edited.
No.
Another thing that
thankfully, touch wood.
Yeah. Another thing that you've constantly been battling is the kind of criticism that people have with the body image. It's becoming a huge thing. It's actually a form of bullying in a way. Have you ever really got affected with it to a point where you were like really upset?
I think I get annoyed when there's warped pictures of me. Like, you know, like they'll enhance certain things and make me look bigger than I actually am. And I'm like, okay, granted, if I put on weight here, fine, but why have you enhanced it? You know, leave it the way it is and criticize me if you want. I don't really care. I feel like I've dealt with bullying my entire life. I think from the time I was 14, 13, and that's a very vulnerable age. You know, you're kind of just getting used to talking to boys and you're getting bullied, and it's a very sensitive, fragile sort of age. So I feel like I've been bullied so much and I've been harassed so much about my body type that I've heard it all. Like, there's nothing I haven't heard anymore. And I feel I just didn't like it because I was looking at myself based on what that person was telling me, or the majority of the people were telling me like, oh my God, you're like this, and like, this isn't normal, and why do you have a body like that? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just the way I am, you know. It's not like I worked to be this way, this is what it is. So I've reached that point where I'm like, okay, fine. I'm happy. So, you know, screw the world. You want to criticize? Fine, go for it. It's entertaining for me.
So
I find it fascinating. No, I find it very funny. I read a comment recently where someone's like, I don't like her arms. And I'm like, I don't like them too, but you know, they're not that bad. I mean, they're okay. I could work on them a little bit, but they're not that bad.
Thank you, actually. You know, I've always known you as this strong woman.
Thank you.
Physically and mentally, actually. And yeah, you're so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, because you know there will be so many people who would like to have a career like you, and they would actually get to draw inspiration from this conversation.
That's sweet.
Is what I feel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, this is Ileana D'Cruz, and if you've liked this video, please like, share and subscribe to Pinkvilla.